Liam stared at the little number in the corner of his screen. 0 watching. It was a familiar sight, but tonight it felt heavier. It was almost midnight. Outside, rain was hitting his window, each drop a quiet finger tapping on the glass. The city lights beyond were blurred and distant, like stars seen through water. Inside his small bedroom, the world was warm and quiet. The soft glow from his computer monitor mixed with the gentle light of the fairy lights strung on the wall behind him. He had finished work late again. His day job at the warehouse was full of heavy lifting and loud noises. His back still had a dull ache from moving boxes all day. After getting home, he had eaten a quick meal of cheap noodles, taken a fast shower. And now, here he was, sitting in front of his computer, just like so many other nights. "Maybe I should just sleep," he whispered to the empty room. His voice was a small sound against the steady rhythm of the rain. On the screen, his streaming software was open and ready. His own face looked back at him from a small camera window in the corner. He saw the black hoodie, the simple headphones over his messy dark brown hair, and the tired hazel eyes that looked older than 21. The title he had typed for his planned stream was simple and honest: "Chill game plus late night talk, just trying again." He moved the mouse cursor, letting it hover over the Go Live button for a moment before pulling it away. A heavy feeling settled in his chest. It felt like a stone. For a year, he had been doing this, streaming. Sometimes he would stream every single night. Other times, only on weekends when he had more energy. He had managed to get a few followers, but most of his streams had only 1 or 2 viewers. Many times, the numbers stayed at 0. His friends didn't really understand why he kept doing it. "No one watches you, bro," one of them had said, laughing, but not in a mean way. "Why don't you just play the game off-stream?" But for Liam, it was never just about being watched. He liked the feeling of the camera being on, the microphone being open. He liked the possibility that maybe, just maybe, someone else out there, sitting alone in their own dark room, needed to hear a quiet, friendly voice to feel less alone. Tonight, though, that feeling was hard to find. The doubt was louder. What if it never grows? He thought, his eyes fixed on the screen. What if I am just talking into a black hole forever? Just then, his phone, lying on the desk, buzzed softly. He glanced down. It was a notification from his streaming app. Tip: streams during rainy nights can create a cozy mood. Try going live now. He rolled his eyes at the automatic message, but a small, tired smile touched his lips. It was a silly, robotic piece of advice, but it felt like a little push. "Okay," he said softly, speaking to no one but himself. "One more time. Just one more night." He took a slow, deep breath, straightened his back in his cheap office chair, and moved the mouse with sudden purpose. He clicked the Go Live button. A small red light appeared on his screen, next to the word Live. The number of viewers was still a solid 0. "Hey," he said into his small USB microphone. His voice was a little shy at first, a bit rough from not talking much all day, If anyone's here, or if you happen to find this later, welcome." He paused, listening to the sound of the storm outside. "It's raining like crazy tonight. Maybe you can hear it through the window." The number in the corner of his screen did not change. It still said 0 watching. He didn't let the silence stop him this time. He opened his game, the same quiet adventure game he always played. It was a game about exploring beautiful, empty landscapes. On the other half of his monitor, the chat box waited, a blank, white space. Liam started moving his character through a digital forest filled with glowing plants, while the real rain continued to move down the glass of his window behind him. Sometimes, he said, his voice becoming a little more natural, as if he were just thinking out loud, "I think I'm the only one in this whole building who stays up this late." He let out a single, soft laugh. Ha! It was a lonely sound, but it broke the tension. He kept talking anyway, describing the game, talking about his day, sharing small thoughts as they came to him. Outside, the storm seemed to grow stronger, the wind and rain making a soft, roaring sound. Inside, in a small, warm room in a big city, a stream with almost no one there had just begun, and it was starting to carry more weight than Liam could possibly understand. Time passed slowly. The rain outside was a soft, steady rhythm against the window. Inside, Liam's room was quiet, lit only by the warm glow of his monitor and the gentle string of fairy lights above his desk. On the screen, his game character walked through fields bathed in moonlight, climbed small, grassy hills, and fought a few simple, shadowy enemies. His voice, soft and steady, was the only other sound, filling the small space. He knew how to talk even when the chat was empty. It was a skill he had taught himself over many long, quiet nights, just like this one. It felt less like talking to no one and more like practicing for someone. "So, today at work," he said lightly, his voice calm and clear, "I almost dropped a huge box full of plates. That would have been really fun to explain to my boss." He let out a small laugh. My heart just stopped for a second. He told little stories as he played. He talked about the old man who worked at the warehouse with him, the one who always whistled old songs that nobody else knew. He described the little kid he saw on the bus, wearing a cartoon backpack that looked bigger than his whole body. He even admitted that sometimes when he was standing in line at the supermarket, he would make up entire backstories for the strangers around him. He'd imagine their lives, their jobs, their secret dreams. It felt a little ridiculous talking to himself this way, but it also felt good. It was like leaving footprints on a long, empty beach. Even if no one else saw them, he knew they were there. He was here. He let his eyes drift to the corner of the screen again, to the small, familiar number. 0 watching. A quiet sigh escaped him. "All right," he said softly, more to himself than to the empty stream. "I think I'll finish this level, and then I'm going to go to bed. Maybe I'm just talking to the furniture tonight." His character reached a glowing save point in the game. It was a good place to stop. His finger moved toward the end stream button on his software, hovering just above the click. He was tired, and then the number changed. It blinked from 0 to 1, 1 watching. His heart gave a sudden, sharp jump. His hand froze in the air, not touching the mouse, not touching the keyboard. His mind, which had been so quiet and focused, suddenly became a loud, crowded room. 100 thoughts rushed in at once. "Don't be weird," he told himself, taking a slow, silent breath. "Just be normal. I'll just breathe." He leaned a little closer to the microphone. "Hey," he said, his voice a little brighter now, a little warmer. "Whoever just came in, welcome. You picked a very, very quiet night to be here." For a few long seconds, nothing happened. The game's music played softly. The rain tapped on the glass. Then, in the empty chat box, a single line of text appeared. Rain_sleepless. Hi, Liam smiled. A real, genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Hey, Rain_sleepless, he said, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. "That's a nice name. It's raining like crazy here, too. Can you hear it?" Another message appeared almost immediately. Rain_sleepless. "Yeah, I can. Can I just listen?" Bad day. Liam's fingers rested on the keyboard, ready to type a reply, but he stopped. He spoke instead, wanting the person to hear his voice. "Yeah," he said gently. "Of course, you can just listen. There's no pressure to talk. I'll just play and, well, I'll keep you company for a while." Inside him, something shifted, something important. A moment ago, he was thinking about numbers, about being seen. But now, that all felt distant. This wasn't about being a popular streamer. It was just one person, somewhere out there in the same rainy night, who was having a bad day and had chosen his tiny, invisible stream as a place to rest. He moved his character again, guiding him down a digital path lined with glowing lanterns. The world in the game was beautiful and calm. "You know," he said, his tone thoughtful, "this game has a town where it always rains at night. Always like that. It makes me feel like the sky understands, you know? Like it gets it." The minutes passed. The viewer did not leave. The little number 1 stayed steady in the corner of his screen. It felt solid. It felt real. After a while, another message appeared in the chat. Rain_sleepless. Thanks. Couldn't sleep. Everything feels heavy. Liam swallowed. He felt a knot in his throat. He knew that feeling. He knew it very, very well. The weight of a long day, the pressure of a quiet future, the feeling that you are carrying something too heavy to name. "I get that," he said quietly, his voice full of an honesty he rarely shared. "I really do. Sometimes the hardest part of the day is when all the lights go off and your brain just doesn't. It's the worst." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "If you want to say more, you can. If not, that's okay too. I'm just here." He didn't talk about the game anymore. He started to talk about simple things, real things. He talked about the music he liked to listen to when he felt down. He talked about the books he kept on his shelf, books he always promised himself he would read someday. He even shared a small dream he had, about how he wished he had the courage to just pack a bag and move to a different city to start over somewhere new. He kept his tone light, but his words were honest. He wasn't performing anymore. He was just sharing. As he spoke, the rain stayed strong outside, a constant, comforting sound. It was like the night itself was leaning in, listening along with his one viewer. The viewer count stayed at 1, but that one small number, which once felt like a symbol of his failure, now felt as big as a crowd. It felt like connection. It felt like it mattered. Liam's life did not suddenly become perfect after that night. He didn't wake up to thousands of viewers, but his view of himself and of his small, quiet channel changed forever. He learned that success isn't always about big numbers. Sometimes it's about one real connection. If you have a small channel, a song you're writing, a piece of art you're creating, or a dream that feels invisible, don't give up. The storm outside began to roar, a wild sound against the quiet hum of Liam's computer. Rain hit the windows so hard that for a moment he worried the glass might break. Thunder rolled slowly across the sky, like distant drums announcing something important. Once or twice, a flash of white lightning painted his room in silver for just a second, turning the familiar shapes of his desk and chair into something strange and new. On his monitor, the game world was peaceful. Soft music played. Little digital fireflies danced in the air above calm rivers. The difference between the real storm outside and the quiet game inside felt strange, but also beautiful. It was like his small, warm room was a little boat floating safely on a very big, very loud sea. He looked at the corner of his screen. The viewer number was still the same, still 1. And in the chat, the name was still there, Rain_sleepless. Then, a new message appeared. It was longer this time. Rain_sleepless. Can I ask something? How do you keep trying when no one cares? Liam leaned back in his chair, the soft material creaking under his weight. The question hit him harder than he expected. It wasn't about the game. It wasn't a joke. It was a real question, and it felt heavy. He thought about all the nights just like this one. He remembered all the times he had clicked the Go Live button, his heart full of hope, only to see the number 0 stare back at him for hours. He thought about his days at the warehouse, feeling invisible. He remembered the many times he had moved his mouse over the delete channel button, his finger shaking. He could answer with a joke. He could pretend to be strong and say something motivational that wasn't true. He could lie. Instead, he chose the harder thing. He decided to answer with the truth. He took a slow breath and leaned a little closer to his microphone. To be honest, he said, his voice soft, some days I don't keep trying. Some days I close the program. I tell myself this is stupid. I feel small. I get angry that no one's here. He paused for a moment, listening to the rain as it beat against the window. The sound was a steady rhythm, a soundtrack for his confession. But then, he continued, his voice finding a little more strength. There are nights like this. Nights when I think, okay, Maybe just one more stream. And even if no one comes, at least I know I tried again. I think sometimes it's enough to just not quit today. Tomorrow, we can decide again. For a moment, the chat was quiet. The only sound was the storm and the soft music from the game. Liam wondered if he had said too much, if he had been too honest. Then, a new message appeared. Rain_sleepless. I almost quit something tonight. Liam's heart did a little jump. It wasn't a fast, worried beat, but a slow, careful one. This felt important, okay? He knew he had to be careful with his next words. He did not push, okay? Did not ask what it was. He just made space. If you want to talk about it, I'm here, he said, keeping his voice gentle. If no one in your real life is listening right now, at least some random guy with fairy lights on his wall is. A small smiling emoji appeared in the chat. A tiny digital face that somehow felt warm and real. Then, more words followed. Rain_sleepless. I make music. Post it online. No one listens. Tonight, I wanted to delete all of it. Liam smiled, but it was a sad, understanding smile. I know that pain, he said quietly. Post streams. Sometimes they get 3 views. One of those views is probably my own. He let out a soft laugh, a small, honest sound in the quiet room. A moment later, a reply came, and it felt like a shared breath. Rain_sleepless. Same lol. He took another breath, feeling a little braver now. Can I tell you a secret? He asked, his voice almost a whisper. Rain_sleepless. Sure sometimes, Liam said. Looking at his own reflection in the dark screen, I imagine there's exactly one person who needs what I'm doing that night. Not 10, not 100, just one. And I think, what if I stop 2 minutes before they arrive? That thought keeps me here. The typing indicator, 3 little dots blinking on and off, appeared in the chat box. It blinked for a long time. Liam waited. He didn't fill the silence. He just let it be. Finally, a new message came through. Rain_sleepless. Okay, I won't delete tonight. Deal. Liam felt something move behind his ribs. A feeling that was sharp and warm at the same time. It was like a little flame that had been close to going out, but someone had just gently cupped their hands around it. Deal, he said, and his own voice sounded stronger to him now. You keep your music for one more night. I'll keep my channel for one more night. We can both be stubborn together. Outside, thunder rolled again, another deep sound across the city. But inside his small room, it didn't feel scary anymore. It felt like the world was just making noise, while something quiet and important was happening right here at his desk. He realized something then. He had been so focused on the numbers. He saw one on the screen and thought it was almost the same as 0. But it wasn't. This wasn't 0 watching or 1 watching. This was 2 people in 2 different rooms on a stormy night, both trying not to give up on something they cared about. That, he thought, as a small smile touched his lips, was not nothing. That was huge. Hours passed. The rain outside continued its soft rhythm against the window, a constant, gentle drum in the quiet of the night. Liam kept streaming. He played his game, but it felt different now. He was not performing for an empty room anymore. He was sharing his time with someone. The viewer, Rain_Sleepless, stayed. Sometimes they were quiet for a long time, just watching. Other times they typed short messages into the chat. They talked about the game, the rain, and the strange feeling of being awake when the rest of the city was asleep. Liam found himself talking more, and not just about the game. As the minutes turned into hours, his voice became more relaxed, more honest. The tension in his shoulders disappeared. The storm outside softened with him, its angry roar fading into a distant, peaceful rumble. At one point, deep into the night, he forgot about the camera completely. He forgot he was a streamer trying to get views. He was just Liam, a 21-year-old boy, talking in his quiet room. He leaned a little closer to the microphone, and the words came out like he was writing in a diary out loud, sharing a secret with the darkness. "I think we measure ourselves the wrong way," he said softly, his voice barely a whisper. "We look at numbers, views, likes, followers, and, if they're low, we say, 'I am low.' But they're just numbers on a screen. They're not the size of our hearts. Nay, they don't measure our effort or our courage to show up when no one is watching." As soon as the words left his mouth, he felt a blush of heat on his cheeks. He laughed, a short, embarrassed sound. "Wow, that sounded dramatic," he said, shaking his head. A new message appeared in the chat almost immediately. Rain_Sleepless. "No, that was good. Can I quote that?" Liam smiled, a real smile this time. It reached his eyes. "Sure," he typed back, then said it out loud. "Just don't tag me if it sounds cringe later." They both sent laughing emojis into the chat. In that small, shared moment of humor, the distance between two strangers on the internet disappeared. It felt like talking to a friend. The night continued to fade. The sky outside his window slowly, almost magically, turned from a deep, inky black to a very soft, cloudy blue-gray. The storm had passed, leaving behind a quiet, steady rain. Liam glanced at the clock on his computer screen. It read for 12 a.m. A wave of exhaustion washed over him. He rubbed his eyes, feeling the long, sleepless hours in his bones. "I should probably sleep," he said, his voice thick with tiredness. "Still have work tomorrow." The reply from Rain_Sleepless came quickly. Rain_Sleepless. "Okay. Thanks for tonight. I really mean it." Liam felt a warmth spread through his chest. He had spent the entire night with just one viewer, but it felt more meaningful than any stream he had done before. "Me too," he replied sincerely. "Thanks for being my whole audience and not leaving." He lifted his hand in a small, tired wave to the camera. It was a gesture he had seen big streamers do, but tonight it felt personal. It was just for one person. "Good night," he said, "or good morning, wherever you are." Then he moved his mouse and clicked the End Stream button. The red live light on his screen turned off. The room, which had been filled with the low hum of his computer and the sound of his voice, suddenly felt more silent than before. The only sound was the gentle patter of rain. On the monitor, his streaming software began to process the night's recording. A new video file appeared, its name automatically generated: late_stream_rainy_night_4. For a moment, Liam's cursor hovered over the delete icon. His old habit was strong. What's the point? He thought. Nobody re-watches these. It was a 5-hour stream with one viewer. The familiar feeling of failure tried to pull him down. He stopped. His finger froze on the mouse. He remembered the conversation they had hours ago in the middle of the night. He remembered talking about not quitting 2 minutes too early, about staying just a little longer. And he remembered the feeling of connection, of being understood. I liked that part, he thought to himself. That part felt real. Instead of deleting the long video, he did something different. He opened it and began to scrub through the timeline, the long bar representing hours of gameplay and quiet talk. He searched until he found the moment he was looking for, the part where he had almost given up. His own voice, tired but true, came through the speakers. Sometimes I imagine there's exactly one person who needs what I am doing that night. He listened to himself speak. He didn't cringe. It sounded honest. It was the truest thing he had said on stream in a very long time. An idea sparked in his mind. On the platform's video editor, he clicked the button that said Create Clip. He carefully selected a small piece of the stream, about 60 seconds long, from that section. He cut the moment where his voice was the most vulnerable, the most real. He gave the clip a name. He didn't call it amazing gameplay or funny moments. He called it One Person Is Enough Rainy Night Talk. He hit save. A small window popped up, asking if he wanted to share it. He thought for a second. Maybe, he thought, someone else will see this one day and feel less alone. Even if they don't stay for a whole stream. Maybe someone else feels invisible too. He uploaded the clip to his channel's short videos section. He added a simple caption, not trying to be clever or cool, just honest. When you want to quit, but maybe someone needs you to stay 2 minutes more, then he was done. He closed his computer, turned off the soft glow of the fairy lights, and fell into bed. He was too tired to check for views, too tired to worry about likes or followers. The doubt was still there, but tonight it was a quiet whisper, not a loud shout. For the first time in a long time, he fell asleep without the heavy weight of failure on his chest. Liam did not know that while he slept, his small 60-second video would not sleep. While he lay in the dark, the clip started its own quiet journey through the internet. It was a tiny message in a bottle, thrown into a vast digital ocean. The platform's algorithm, designed to find things that connect with people, noticed it. It recommended the video to one person who was feeling lonely. That person shared it with a friend. Then another person saved it. Then 10 more. By the time the first light of dawn touched the edges of the city, painting the wet streets in soft shades of orange and pink, The clip already belonged to more than just him and Rain_sleepless. It was traveling, finding its way to the exact people who needed to hear it most. It was the start of something new, growing silently while its creator was finally, peacefully asleep. Liam's life did not suddenly become perfect after that night. He still had to go to his job at the warehouse. He still had moments of doubt. But his view of himself and his small channel changed forever. He learned that success isn't always about big numbers. Sometimes it's about one real connection. That rainy night, he wasn't just a streamer with one viewer. He was a person who made another person feel less alone. And that changed everything. Liam's alarm clock screamed into the darkness, dragging him from a sleep that had barely begun. The next morning had arrived far too quickly. His head felt heavy, like it was filled with sand, and his whole body ached in protest. Just 4 hours of sleep after a long shift at the warehouse, and an even longer, more emotional stream it was not a good recipe for a productive day. He groaned, rolling over to silence the noise, the cozy warmth of his bed trying to pull him back under. But work was waiting. The day at the warehouse passed in a slow, hazy blur. He moved through his tasks like a ghost, his mind and body disconnected. It was a day of boxes, tape, and shipping labels. Several times, he found his eyes closing while he was sealing a carton, his head nodding forward before he caught himself with a jolt. He kept his phone tucked away in his locker, not bothering to check it. There was rarely anything important on it anyway, just the usual notifications from apps he barely used. Why add to the exhaustion? It was only later, on the slow, rumbling bus ride home, that he finally pulled out his phone. The city lights were beginning to flicker on outside the window, painting streaks of color on the glass. He opened his streaming app, his thumb scrolling listlessly through the main feed. Then, it stopped. A bright red notification bar stretched across the top of his screen, a message he had never seen before. It read, "Your clip one person is enough rainy night talk is getting more views than usual." His heart gave a little jump. Asterisk, more views than usual? Asterisk for him, usual was 10, maybe 15 views if he was lucky. He tapped on the notification, his curiosity mixed with a familiar sense of doubt. The app loaded the clip page, and then he saw it. The number below the clip's title wasn't small. It wasn't the kind of number a superstar streamer would have, but for him, for Liam, who spoke to an empty chat, it was monumental. It was huge. 12,486 views. He blinked, thinking his tired eyes were playing tricks on him. He closed the app and opened it again. The number was still there. And then, as he stared at the screen, it changed. With a trembling hand, he scrolled down to the comments section. He expected maybe a few messages, or even nothing at all, but the screen was full. Line after line of text from people he had never met. "Who is this guy?" One comment read. Another said, "I needed this tonight." Someone else had written, "Saved this to listen to when I want to delete everything." His eyes found a comment quoting his own words back to him. This line, What if I stop 2 minutes before they arrive? Hit hard. And then, another. Who else is here at 3 a.m. with tears in their eyes? A hot, stinging feeling filled his eyes. He wasn't crying from sadness, but from a powerful, overwhelming sense of connection. He wasn't just a voice talking into the rain anymore. He had been heard. He quickly navigated to his main channel page, his fingers clumsy. The follower count, a number that had been stuck at 87 for what felt like an eternity, had jumped. It wasn't millions, not even hundreds of thousands, but it was enough to make his hands shake uncontrollably. That evening, he was back in his chair. He sat at his desk in his small room. Everything looked exactly the same. The same warm fairy lights were strung around his monitor. The same simple microphone stood on his desk. The same dark city skyline was visible through his window. The room hadn't changed, but the feeling in the air was completely different. It was no longer filled with loneliness, but with a quiet, buzzing energy of anticipation. He opened his streaming software, his cursor blinking on the screen. The title for tonight's stream came to him instantly, as if it had been waiting there all along. He typed, "Rainy Nightclip People, are you here? Just talking." His finger hovered over the Go Live button, just as it had the night before. But this time, the hesitation came from a different kind of fear. It wasn't the fear of being alone. It was the fear of not being enough. Asterisk, what if I disappoint them? Asterisk, he thought, his stomach twisting into a knot. Asterisk, what if they think I am wise and confident all the time? Asterisk, he closed his eyes for a moment and took a slow, deep breath. He remembered his own words from the storm, words he had spoken to a single viewer. Courage isn't about having no fear. It's about moving forward even when you are afraid. He opened his eyes, a new resolve hardening inside him. He clicked the button. Live. The viewer number on his screen blinked to life. But it didn't stay at 0. It didn't crawl slowly to 1. It exploded. 0 gives 14, gives 37, gives 89, gives 132. The number kept climbing, faster than he could read it. And then came the chat. It wasn't a slow trickle of messages. It was a flood. A waterfall of words filling the little box on his screen. Hey, I saw your clip. I'm the one who saved it last night. Your words stopped me from deleting my art. And then, a username he recognized instantly. Hi, from Rain_Sleepless. When he saw that name, a laugh escaped him, a real, full, bright laugh that filled the small room. The nervousness in his chest loosened its grip. There you are, he said, his voice warm. You kept your music. A reply appeared a second later. Rain_Sleepless. Yeah. And I shared your clip. Sorry for the chaos, lol. Liam smiled into the camera, a genuine, unpracticed smile. If this is chaos, he said softly, I think I like it. He looked directly into the camera lens. His hands were still shaking a little, but his voice was steady and clear. Okay, he began. So, I'm still just a guy in a small room. I still have a warehouse job. I still get scared, and I still get tired. But if my little late-night words helped even a few of you not quit, then this channel, it isn't small anymore. Not in the way that matters. The chat filled with hearts, with simple, heartfelt messages of thank you. He swallowed hard, a lump forming in his throat. Tonight, he continued, his voice gentle, we're not going to chase big numbers or perfect content. We're just going to sit here together, talk. And remember that showing up with all our noise and all our fear and all our dreams is already a brave thing. He started the same quiet game he had played the night before. The music was soft, and his words were too. Outside his window, the sky was clear. The storm had passed, leaving behind a calm, cool night filled with the silent light of distant stars. Inside, the boy who once spoke to an empty chat was now speaking to a room full of people. They had all arrived, in their own time, from their own quiet rooms. All because he decided not to quit on one rainy night. His channel had changed. But, more importantly, Liam had changed the way he saw his own voice. He realized it didn't need to be the loudest to be heard. It just needed to be honest. And somewhere out there, in many different dark rooms, people listened. They listened to his calm voice and the gentle music, and they held on to their own small, fragile dreams for at least one more night. So, Liam's life did not suddenly become perfect. He still had his job at the warehouse and his moments of doubt. But his view of himself and of his small channel had changed forever. He understood that connection was not about numbers, but about one real heart speaking to another. If you have your own small channel, your own music, your art, or your dream, please keep it for one more night, especially when you feel invisible. You never know who is listening, and you never know when your rainy night will turn into a clear sky. If you would like more long.com English stories that understand your fear and feed your courage, please subscribe to our channel. Learn English with stories. Thank you for staying with this story until the end, my friend.